That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Hey, top of the morning to you. It's good to have you on board. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Big show lined up for you. We'll get into some player props for Championship Sunday coming up here in a little bit. Matt Human's on the program today. His best bets for the week. Jonathan Von Tobel, some NBA. And we'll go to San Francisco later on in the morning. John Lund will join the program from KMBR in San Francisco. Is Deebo Samuel going to play in this game? Of course, Paulie, we every day at this time of year typically start with something in the NFL, but last night in the NBA with what took place, it was, I mean, how many times in history will you come in, wake up, and the discussion is a guy scored 62 points last night, and it wasn't even the most points scored by a player in the league.
Yeah.
So we had one guy go for 70, who was your MVP frontrunner right now, Joel Embiid, and Karl Anthony Towns dropped 62 in a loss, by the way.
Yes.
And how did that team give up 128 points? We'll get to that coming up in a second. The Sixers scored 133. They couldn't cover, but the story is Embiid, 70 last night, and now he's down to plus 130 to win the MVP this morning at DraftKings.
Well, how about he did it in 36 minutes?
Yeah, right?
That's the first 70, 15, and 5 in NBA history. 4 times we've had 2 players score 60 in the same night. We've never had 2 players score at least 65 in the same night. That was in range, but it didn't happen. Towns had 44 in the first half.
He only scored. He was 2 of 10 from the floor in the fourth quarter.
Right. Now that's wild. You lose the game. But the tricky thing here with Embiid is plus 130, as you mentioned, but if he misses 7 games, he's not eligible for the award. So, and then 2 weeks ago, he said, my main focus is health, not MVP.
Sure.
So while he continues to put up ridiculous numbers in the first 70, 15, and 5 in NBA history, you can't just run out and say, well, this is a no-brainer. He's going to win the MVP because there could be an injury.
Right.
He could have some rest. They might sit him down when we get later in the year. So with these new rules here, this has become wild how you have to treat awards. But the kid just continues. I mean, on a bad night, he scores 30 now.
Right.
What he's done.
Well, I mean, when you look at it like this, so Embiid, you wake up today, he is now averaging 36.1 points per game on the year. Harden did that back in 18-19. That was his average for the entire season. When you go back and, you know, a lot of these players in the game today, their hero growing up was Kobe Bryant. And yesterday, good job by you pointing that out, it was the 18-year anniversary of Kobe going for 81. Did that play into it last night where these guys, it was, you know, it meant that much to them where they wanted to do something special? Kobe that year averaged 35.4 points per game. Back-to-back years from Michael Jordan. 87-88, it was 35 points per game, but the year before that, he averaged 37.1 points per game. So I do think, and look, we're coming in early here, and it's easy to say that as of right now, Embiid would win the MVP, and, you know, go make a bet on that guy. But you're fighting 2 things. Not only can he only miss 7 more games, right? Let's not forget about how good of a season Joker's having. It seems like every night it's 31, 15, and 10, or something along those lines. And when you look at some of the advanced numbers, Jokic is still actually better than Embiid. And Embiid's putting up, you can actually say, this year he's playing out of his mind. He's the true MVP maybe today, this year, compared to what he was last year. But regardless, some things that voters might take into effect now, with advanced numbers overall compared to previous years at dunksandthrees.com. Great website. They have their estimated plus minus. He is now plus 10.8 on the year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is plus 9.3. This is per 100 possessions, and Joker is down to 7.2. When you look at the per metric, Embiid is sitting at 35.65. And Joker is 32.05. So now he is like, that's a massive gap between number 1 and number 2 for the Hollinger numbers there with the per rating.
Yeah.
But I don't, again, like.
And people are going to bring up what happened last year in the playoffs, though, too.
Well, if they use it against Joker before last year, they're going to use it against Embiid, you would think.
Yeah. He's the 9th player to score 70. Does that surprise you?
That it's only 9, or it's been that many?
That many. 9 guys have done it?
No, because we've been alive for plenty of them now, right? I mean, Booker did it.
Yeah.
You know, David Robinson did it.
Yeah.
I know I'm missing some, but clearly.
Yeah, it's also wild that he does it on the anniversary of Kobe, because you're thinking because he get 80 now and he would have had it if he would have played a majority of the game. And then with the Minnesota angle, they came out and they said it after the game. Edwards said it. They were looking around thinking this guy might get 100. And the next thing you know, they blow an 18-point lead. They're number one in defense. They're a 14-point home favorite against god-awful Charlotte, who's 10-31. Yeah. And next thing you know, we have a game. But this is the talent in this league.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, Cat's a big guy, and he hits 10 threes.
How about this? He became the first player in the history of the league last night to make 10 twos, 10 threes, and 10 free throws.
Wow.
That'll tell you about the talent overall, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that guy in any other era would just be ridiculous. He would stick out like a sore thumb, but he gets completely lost because so many players are just like better than him. Or they put up better numbers than Cat.
Right. Well, you saw with both teams, though. Philly can't cover. Minnesota can't even win the game.
I know.
So one guy's scoring every time down. You're standing around, you're looking at him. And then Finch called it immature basketball afterwards. I mean, I don't know what they were doing defensively. But then one guy struggles in the fourth quarter. One guy's taking the majority of the shots. And then they can't even win the damn game.
I know.
And what happened? I mean, you're right. You can't. How do you give up that many points at home to a bad team when you're number one in defense?
All of that, right?
Completely takes away from the night.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's a kick to the breadbasket. You were outscored 36-18 at home in the fourth quarter, and you're a 14-point favorite, and Cat's doing that. And yeah, you're exactly right. Finch eviscerated the players after the game. That's a money quote, by the way, from Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
We're standing around watching the guy. He might go for 100 when he's got 44 at halftime. And that's I guess the reason why. Just like, here you go, take over. And unfortunately for them and for Cat, he had that bad fourth quarter where just keep shooting, pal. See if you can get 70 or more. And then he was 2 of 10 in the fourth.
Sure, good point. That's where you have to be careful and still respect the game. You can't just be focused on, well, this guy, let's see how many points he can get. And then if one guy's shooting, the other guys aren't in a rhythm. They're standing around. And next thing you know, you're not playing real basketball and you blow the game. I mean, that shouldn't even be close there. The fact that you're up 18 against these guys, you should run them out. That's now back-to-back losses at home. After what happened, they were coming off the loss at home against OKC. So still a young team. Weird stuff's going to happen. So they're saying all the right things afterwards. You're the 1 seed. It's going to be important that you get that. And you don't want to blow this season. You're off to a great start as we're getting close to the All-Star break here.
Yeah, this will give you an example to your point of how much talent there is in this league. Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2-time MVP, right? He had 31, 17, and 10. On the season, in 35 minutes, he's averaging 31.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 60% from the floor. He's 11-1 to win the MVP. And I would tell you, as of this morning, that's too long. I'm sorry, that's too short. It's too short. He should be higher than that because he basically, when you put him up against Joker and Embiid, unless something happens to those two guys, and I'll throw in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's not winning the MVP this year.
Yeah.
And he's putting up insane numbers.
You're right. And you're right. Joker has entered Jordan territory, where it's just he's going to get a triple-double on accident no matter what he does, and he's so good and his numbers are so good.
Yeah.
It's just like you're used. Yeah, right. It's boring. It's no big deal. Like you couldn't give Jordan the MVP every year, even though you could have.
Yeah, you could have. Should have.
So it's going to be the same thing with Joker. He could win it every year if the voters decide to do that. And still with Embiid, who's putting up better numbers, it's the injury concern, or at least or health. And if he misses time the rest of the way.
Yeah. So we can't advocate betting Embiid today. I would not even put him in parlays if that's available, where you can bet with your legal sports books. I wouldn't do that just because, again, that's the double whammy, right? There's a chance he misses more time, and he's already talked about that. Because I think at this point he also recognizes, look, it's great. I've now been recognized as the best player in the NBA for a single season. That's what I wanted to do once in my life. He won that, and now he also, on the other side, realizes that I get ridiculed because I can't get out of the second round of the playoffs. So this year is about doing what Joker did last year, and that's making a run, get to the finals, and see if I can win a ship here.
And the Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be fantastic. That's another one too, because they're going to make some moves. Philly's going to make a move. Other trades are happening. The Pacers got Siakam. The Knicks got OG.
All right.
I mean, these are teams that weren't even supposed to compete and weren't even contenders, and they're improving themselves, trying to get up there and taking a shot.
Yeah.
So it's the old Daryl Morey line. Even if you have a 5% chance, you have to go for it. And these teams are doing it. So that's refreshing.
Yep. And I think these teams at the very top, that's the thing, right? Some of the teams below Philly, Boston, by the way, winners last night at Dallas, small favorite in that game. Tatum and Brown were awesome. They combined to go for more than 70. And the Bucks, like those three teams, are probably going to do something here.
Well, look at what happened last year with the Heat. That's another reason why you have to go for it. You don't know. I mean, you get hot at the right time, there can be an upset. Someone can have an injury. Next thing you know, my God, we're in the conference finals.
Yep.
And you could do this.
And remember, like ESPN, their numbers, the BPI, I think, before the Eastern Conference Final started, they gave the Celtics like a 97% chance to win it per their numbers. And, you blink twice, they're down 0-3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were just completely fatigued and out of gas, and they weren't coming back. They made it a good series, but that's, you can get surpassed in the night, right? It's like two ships passing each other in the NBA because these teams are, Paul, there was a time not that long ago where every single year before the season started, you could name like 3 teams that are going to win the championship.
Sure.
That's it.
No doubt.
Now there's like 15.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a totally different sport than what it was 10, 15 years ago.
Right. Celtics are stacked, but one injury changes everything.
Of course, right.
But also you have considerable depth now in both conferences. And the West is wide open too, even though you have to respect the champs. Guy scores 70 points in 36 minutes. My God.
21-23 from the line.
Yeah.
And 24-41 from the floor last night.
He's one of the best shooters in the league.
Oh, he's great.
I'm just forgetting, not big guys, just one of the best shooters.
I'm actually
an outside jumper that he has.
I'm surprised when he misses from 15 feet or from the free throw line.
Yeah, good point.
By the way, one of those 2 teams now, or 3 teams I should say, rumored to maybe be involved in a big trade. Details on that and win-lose next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll be doing it all week with the props. They're already up at DraftKings, and new customers can bet $5 on any game. You get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code VSiN. You'll be blown away by the menu, every sport, everything that's offered, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Code VSiN. The crown is yours.
All right, VSiN host Matt Youmans joins the program now. We'll get some best bets for tonight and this week. His show is called VSiN Tonight. It's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Monday through Friday here on VSiN. Matt, thanks for the time. Good to talk to you as always. I said yesterday about the AFC title game, part of me said immediately you need to bet the Ravens when it was -3, -120. And then the other part said, hey, idiot, you're betting against Patrick Mahomes then. So I don't have a bet on this game yet. How are you looking at it?
Well, I took 3.5 with the Chiefs right away. And, if I want to, I can come back with the Ravens on the money line or something later in the week. But I really thought the number was going to be 3. I didn't think we'd see a 3.5. To give Mahomes 3.5 is something I had to take here. This is just the 6th time in his career Mahomes has got 3 points or more. He's 5-0 against the spread in those games. And I was on the Chiefs last week against the Bills. I'm going to ride them again here. And the big difference is the Baltimore defense is much better than the Buffalo defense. Mm-hmm. And that was a big part of the reason why I played the Chiefs last week. The Bills were so beat up with the linebacker and secondary spots that I thought Travis Kelce and Mahomes would be able to take advantage of that. And that's not going to be the case this week against the Ravens. So it's going to be a much tougher matchup. We could talk for a long time about how the Bills screwed up that game. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, etc. A lot of people are just going to blame it on the kicker. Even if Tyler Bass made that kick, the Bills were probably still going to lose the game, and a lot of people aren't paying attention to that. I think one thing about the Chiefs I really like is the way Isaiah Pacheco is running the ball. He's like a battering ram right now, and it gives that offense just a little bit more balance if they can stick with the run. And the Kansas City defensive front is tough. And so I think this is going to be another one of those type of games that goes down to the wire. And to me, it was more about betting the number and betting on Mahomes at 3.5. I think that's the way to go early in the week. Okay. And we'll see if I change my mind, but right now I'm going to stick with the 3.5.
You always say buying on bad news, and for much of the season, the Niners were the number 1 team and power-rated team, and everyone was in love with them, and they were blowing everybody out. And now Purdy has a hiccup here, and America's team, now the Lions, taking support. 6.5 here at Circa. What do you think with the Debo situation and what you're going to do with the Niners 6.5 or 7 in the late game?
I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that. And I think Debo's going to play. I would expect that he does not have a fracture in the shoulder, so I think he's going to be out there. Here's the thing. A lot of times you want to bet the opposite of what you saw last in the NFL. And, yeah, I know the Niners struggled, but Wes Reynolds and I were talking about this on the show last night. They got their scare from the Packers. It wouldn't surprise me if they blew out the Lions this week. That Detroit defense has really got some issues. Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford have exploited that secondary the last couple of weeks, and I think the Niners are going to be able to do the same thing. And, you know, say what you want to about Brock Purdy, but he came up big, clutch on that last drive to win the game. I want to know what Kyle Shanahan's thinking at the end of the first half.
Oh, it was bad. Terrible.
It doesn't get much worse than that. So I would expect the Niners to win the game. I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to bet this one yet, but I don't want the Lions in this spot. I actually just don't trust the Detroit defense at all. I think, you know, we saw the best of the Lions here the last couple of weeks at home. That electric atmosphere, it's going to be a different story on the road in San Francisco.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Matt Youmans, his show is called VSiN tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. College basketball tonight. It's a really big night with teams that are ranked in the top 25. Let's start in the Big 12 here. Oklahoma is taking on Texas. They're at home. They're laying 4.5. Texas, great game against Baylor over the weekend with a buzzer beater win against the Baylor Bears. Good win for Texas. But what do you make of this number tonight between these two teams?
How stacked is the Big 12 in basketball, by the way? I mean, it is insane. 14 teams, and 12 of them are good. And tonight, Houston, which is number 1 in the Ken Palm ratings, goes up against BYU, which is number 10. Both teams are top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency. But here's the thing with the Cougars. They haven't really been tested away from home too many times. Talked about this on your show a couple weeks ago when they went to Iowa State and ended up losing that game by 4 that night as a 3-point road favorite. Then the Cougars went to TCU and lost by 1. BYU, tough in Provo. Last week blew out Iowa State by 15. I actually, you know, if you look at Houston, adjusted tempo number 351 in college basketball. This is a really slow-paced team. BYU is a skilled offensive team with shooters. A little bit of a clash of styles here. Again, tough home court. Give me the home dog here. BYU plus 2.5. You got some guys who can light it up. A lot of people probably don't know Jackson Robinson, Spencer Johnson, but this is a really good BYU team. And again, Big 12 home courts have been strong. And I think BYU plus 2.5 is the right play here. As far as Oklahoma, Texas, you said it, Mitch. The Longhorns won at the buzzer against Baylor. And I think this is a really good spot to bet against them here on the road. Texas beat Oklahoma in 2 tight games last year. Porter Moser is doing a great job with this team. This number opened 3.5 overnight, and I think the sharp money's got it right here because the 3.5's already been bet up to 4.5 and 5. So lay 4.5 with the Sooners, and what's a bad spot for Texas?
All right, that sounds good. BYU got to be in a bad mood after blowing that big lead as well over the weekend. How about some golf plays? And what a start to the golf season, which we mentioned yesterday. But the guys who have won tournaments already, a 500 to 1, a 300 to 1, a 200 to 1. Will it continue? Who do you like this weekend?
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't bet much on the golf futures board so far because I have not been really close to anything. And these long shots that hit have been crazy. I mean, this is something you're probably never going to see again in golf. But this week at Torrey Pines, it's one of my favorite tournaments, but it's not an elevated event. So you've got no Scotty Scheffler, no Justin Thomas, no Jon Rahm, obviously, no Rory. None of the superstars are going to be out there, and you got Xander Schauffele as a favorite. Torrey is one of those courses, and it's one of those tournaments where course history is a very strong indicator of who you should bet. And Jason Day is actually in pretty good form. I haven't bet Day much at all in the last 2 or 3 years, but he tied for 3rd here in 2022. He actually tied for 7th last year. Day has won here before at Torrey Pines. I think that's a player you got to look at, even at 25 to 1. It's not a great number, but 25 is good enough to get me on Jason Day here. And Sahith Theegala, when I went to this tournament last year, I followed him around a little bit. I was impressed with his game. And he actually, I think, has been getting better and better, and he was a winner in mid-September in California. He tied for 4th at Torrey last year at 9 under, 4 strokes back, and he's at 35-1. Yeah, there's going to be some long shots on the leaderboard this week. I don't know who they are, but I can tell you that Sahith Theegala and Jason Day are good bets to be up there on the leaderboard as well. And those numbers are enough to bet those guys. I think you can also bet those guys on placement markets. Mitch and I were talking about this. Top 10, top 20, that's another good way to bet golf.
Oh, that's the way I'm going to have to approach it this entire year because, I mean, when it's this unpredictable, I mean, how many tickets are books writing on guys at 525-1 or 400-1? So landing on a guy like that to win pre-tournament is, come on, that's not going to happen very often. So taking other guys, like I had 3 guys last week outright, Poston, Eric Cole, and Hadwin. I also bet them in the top 20. So I would have been a losing week, but thank God I had them for some top 20 placement markets.
That's well said. That's a good way to bet it. And if you're a bookmaker right now, you love golf because you've been scooping the pot on the futures board.
No kidding. Well said. Mm-hmm. You can catch Matt's show. It's called VSiN tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. West Coast time right here on VSiN Monday through Friday. Thanks, Matt. Best of luck this week.
Okay, you bet. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
So he's going to go to war with BYU against Houston. Well, I'll have more on this game coming up a little bit later on. It is definitely a contrast of styles tonight between the two Cougars.
One of the toughest places to play in the country.
Yeah.
Human's very active on social media the last week or so, defending Culver's with all these lists that have been going on with the fast food. Big-time Culver's fan.
Nothing gets him riled up.
No, oh, yeah. Well, he's the expert on it.
Like a good cheeseburger.
Yeah, everyone's, everyone wants to chime in with their list, but we have the expert here at the network. Come on. There's no one better. This guy, this is his lifestyle.
He's the number one authority in the entire country.
Yeah, all paper plates. Doesn't own silverware. That's right. Did he say he was going through his cupboard and he found taco shells that were like 6 years old?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. Tried them. Hey, still pretty good.
You got that? Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. Nothing at the house.
No.
Never does dishes. Never runs the
dishes, no
dishwasher.
silverware. That's right. Yep. All paper plates.
When's the last time you think he bought a bottle of Dawn dish soap? Ever? He's probably never.
Oh, good one. Yeah, good one.
Oh, man. Up next, we'll discuss teams in the NFL that we find intriguing for next year. Where will some of these win totals open? It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. The show is brought to you by DraftKings. Starting this hour with some NBA talk. For those of you maybe just waking up now early in the morning, Joel Embiid went nuts last night. He scored 70. And we started the show with this a couple hours ago saying how many times will another player in the NBA score 62 like Karl Anthony Towns did last night, and he's not the leading scorer of the night.
Yes. Huh?
Yeah. And Jonathan Von Tobel is the senior NBA betting analyst here at VSiN. His podcast is called Hardwood Handicappers. Always a great listen. He joins us now. Morning, JVT. How are you?
Good. And I would actually ask, when's the next time it happens this season, right? 62 and you're not the leading scorer. Could, given the way that these guys are scoring.
Yeah, will we have, here's a good prop maybe for a book. Will we have another night in the NBA where two or more players score 50-plus points? I don't. 60 is getting a little nuts, but how about 50-plus in one night? And so, based on what Embiid did last night, this is tricky, right? Because you got to play 65 games to win awards this year. He's down to plus 130. He's averaging 36.1 points per game. What is your MVP betting advice to the audience today?
I mean, it's hard to pass up on Embiid when he was, especially when we were talking about, he was in the range of about like 7-1 when he first came back from this injury stint that he was on. And, Femi Abebefe texted me. He's like, you got to get on this thing in terms of MVP because really all you're fighting against is whether or not he's going to miss time. Because I think statistically at this point right now, guys, he's going to win MVP if he keeps on track and plays enough games. I mean, some of the numbers with his efficiency, he's shooting 50% on mid-range jumpers. It's absolutely insane. You expect it to go in every every single time it leaves his hands when he's in that free throw area. His efficiency numbers are on par with last year, even though his usage is the highest it's been of his career. Like across the board, these numbers are tremendous. And by the way, he is set to blow out his assist rate, his previous career high in terms of individual assist rate as well. So I do think that statistically he's on par. The question is just, do you trust that he's not going to miss, enough games here down the stretch? And I would think that he is going to be a guy that does not rest unless absolutely needed. I do think that MVP does matter to a guy like Joel Embiid and to this team, especially considering how the last few years have gone, and he finally gets one last year. So I think that you're in a good position now. I think it's kind of gone already. Like, I don't want you to invest at plus 130, considering that you have such a tight window to work with here. But that was the time. When he came back from injury and the market freaked out because of the missed time, that was in. And if you got in around that 7-1 range, you're in a pretty good position.
Paulie said couple hours ago, it is sick how much talent is in this league. And to his point, Giannis had 31, 17, and 10 last night. It's like, I'm kind of bored by that.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, in fairness to that performance, though, sorry, you can't be going back and forth with the Detroit Pistons, right? Like,
no, I know. I know.
Right. It's a great performance. So you throw 31, 17, and 10. It was absolutely tremendous. But when you give up like a half-court defensive rating of over 100 to the Pistons, you duel with them in consecutive games. I think that's why you get lost. It's not only the performance against the opponent, it's the opponent themselves. But the Bucks have kind of been just floating around that 2 seed. But it's been such a weird and unimpressive stretch that has gotten them at that point where you're right. Like, we're so numb to these performances, where about 10 years ago we'd be like, holy smokes, this leads SportsCenter. But on a single night, you have 70 points, you have 62, and then you've got a 30-point triple-double with 17 assists, and we're just like, yeah, that one can go on the back burner.
Yeah. By the way, Mark Stein reporting the Bucks could be players for DeJounte Murray. What is your gut feeling about that?
Yeah, I think that fits a little bit better than what we're looking at with like a Trae Young, for example. Like, Damian Lillard can play off ball, right? We've seen that a couple of times now. He's already playing with the ball dominant guy in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they need a guard at the point of attack. Damian Lillard has not had a good defensive season, and it's not all of his fault, but they are a subpar defensive team, and a lot of it starts with their pick and roll defense at the guard position, and that's Damian Lillard. So if you could put DeJounte Murray in there, and I should know, DeJounte Murray is a very overrated defender. Like, he's not exactly what his reputation is, but he's still better than what Damian Lillard provides. And he also gives you a guard that can lead your offense when you stagger those two. And when Damian Lillard's not on the floor, point guard is their weakest position. So if they can barge their way in and get in there and acquire him with whatever they have left, I would say it's only a positive given the weaknesses of this team. And I would absolutely love it. Now, I don't know if that's the move that makes me run to the counter to go bet Milwaukee to win the East, to win the NBA Finals. But at the very least, it makes a team that has a very clear weakness better in that position. And I think that's only going to help them when you're talking about trying to make up the gap between them and Boston, which clearly there's a pretty big one right now.
What do you think of the Knicks and the Pacers since they made these two big trades in the last time we've talked to you?
They're kind of like boring trades, and I know that might sound a little, but like for both of these teams, Paul, like neither trade is really making you run to go and bet them outside of maybe some adjusted win totals. For the New York Knicks, for example, OG Anunoby fits really well. They went on that tear where they won 5 or 6 straight games or blowing opponents out, but it was a lesser schedule, right? And now as we've kind of seen them kind of even out, they're a very good team. They should be able to beat up on some of these bad teams. They get Brooklyn tonight, and they should be able to win and cover that game considering the situations Brooklyn in and after they lost that game on Sunday. But outside of that, I don't think that pushes you toward, the teams like Philly, like Milwaukee, like Boston. I think that solidly puts you in contention for a 4 seed, and you should maybe be able to push for home court. We'll see if you can get it out of Cleveland and maybe get another 4-5 matchup with Cleveland like we saw last year. But I don't think that makes you a finals contender. And as far as Indiana's concerned, I think that solidly puts you inside of the top 6. But again, when you play as bad as you do defensively, when you lose to Portland in the first game with Pascal Siakam, when you lose, of course, the way you do to Phoenix as well, you can't really hold on. It's just a team that is not going to be good enough defensively, I don't think, to even win a playoff series with Pascal Siakam. Okay, so that game tonight, Knicks-Nets opened up Knickerbockers lane 3. It's up to 4.5 or 5. Still bettable in your opinion? I think so. For those who have not been paying attention to this slide that the Brooklyn Nets have on, it's not just giving up a 22-0 run and losing to the Los Angeles Clippers and failing to cover in that game. That was insane. But and I had the Clippers team total in that game, and I was lucky to get that thing over. But the fact that if you went out there and laid it is absolutely insane. But guys, if you go back to, and we'll get the date for you, if you go back to December 13th, So they went to Phoenix, the Brooklyn Nets did. They won that game and they covered. Since that moment, they only have 3 covers. Like, they have been absolutely abysmal over the last month. They're one of the worst defensive teams. Their half-court defense is abysmal. And for a team like New York, who, they're kind of like a bully, where if you're taking on some of these lesser opponents, they can get out there and win by margin. I still think 4.5 is playable. Brooklyn's just not in a good spot right now. There was this weird kind of faux report that people thought Spencer Dinwiddie was quiet quitting with how poorly he was playing on the floor. They're a team that could be selling off all of these pieces. I think at this point right now, there's no reason to look at this Brooklyn team and expect anything other than futility as we move forward. And I would expect that this is a pretty good spot still for New York to come in and get a winning cover.
I agree with you. How about one of the wins, though, Friday? They put 130 up on the Lakers and ran them out on the road. The Lakers at DraftKings are plus 120 to make the playoffs. What do you think about the Lakers? Golden State's a mess. And if there's value there on the Jazz, it's 6-1.
I think so. So the problem with the Jazz, Paul, is it's just like, even he was after one of the wins that they had recently, right, where Will Hardy even said, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, like, we know what this is, right, which is in a month from now, we could see some of these guys gone, because if you get a good enough deal, then some of these guys are going to be out. But that Larry Markkinen, I think, is going to stick around, but some of the ancillary pieces could be on their way out. And I think that's the only thing that is a danger. If you tell me right now that you can guarantee the Jazz are going to stay together, then I think they are going to be a play-in team, because I don't think you're in danger of getting passed up by the Rockets. I think the only worry is that the Golden State Warriors, who are currently 2 games back, finally start to put some things together, and I think they're good enough to do it. And they've had a lot of time off here, obviously, with the unfortunate passing of their assistant coach, that maybe they're going to be able to start to turn things around with Draymond back. But outside of that, like, I think you're looking at a team like the Lakers, who are in danger of potentially falling out. We know that they're not going to have LeBron James tonight against the Clippers. You mentioned the bad loss. Like, that was a terrible loss against Brooklyn. You can't lose a game like that. I think the Jazz are pretty live here, but it's just, you got to be able to guarantee, which you can't, if this team is going to stick together. And I'll be very interested to see what the market does post-trade deadline. If they're still together and the market doesn't adjust and increase their odds, potentially make the playoffs, I think that's worth coming in and betting the Utah Jazz if we know they're going to be together post-trade deadline.
I'll ask you this, and it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, VSiN's senior NBA analyst, Jonathan Von Tobel. Clippers are laying between 8.5 and 9 tonight against the Lakers. It was around this time last year where I bought, I think, as low as possible on the Lakers at 47-1 to win the Western Conference. Things were looking like they were, at that point, it was like, okay, they're going to make a bunch of moves. This is not the finished product at all. Maybe it was a little bit earlier in January. Regardless, they made the Western Conference Finals before getting swept by Denver. Why do I have zero desire to bet the Lakers this year?
I think it's because, like, it's a couple of things, right? The first thing is, I think that we need to understand how nicely that bracket broke for them last year, right? You get a Memphis Grizzlies team that was absolutely shattered with injuries. You get a Golden State team that doesn't have anybody physically that matches up with you. Like, it breaks perfectly for them. And then you see what happens in the Western Conference Finals, where, like, we can call it the most competitive sweep in basketball. It's a sweep. You lost all 4 games. You saw that gap, Mitch. And I think that's part of the reason is they ran back a play-in team. And so now you look around and you're going, okay, like, what are the moves? And one of the moves is clutch client DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray, I don't think he's going to make that difference. We talk about fit. I don't really love the fit. Like, when you talk about DeJounte Murray playing off ball, not being an elite catch and shoot 3-point shooter, not entirely fitting, I don't think there's a move that really pushes this team forward. And there's no real, I think, path. Maybe we'll see what happens with injuries and how things shake out. But you look at the top of the Western Conference, Mitch. I mean, when we're talking about Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, the Los Angeles Clippers, you go on and on. Who would you want to play the Los Angeles Lakers in one of those series, right? Because they're clearly the worst team that every single one of those teams that could be in front of them. So barring a path that forms like that, I think that's why you don't want to. And also, to your point, you said you got them at about 47-1. They're still about 25-1. Like, that's not worth investing in at this point.
No, thank you. Do you have a best bet or two for tonight?
Yeah, so it's going to be the Nuggets at -4.5. It's a short card, so there's not a lot going on. But I think the Nuggets -4.5 is going to be up there. That's the only bet I've made so far. And then I think if you want to have something a little bit later tonight, if you're looking at, let me get the number for you here really quickly, but the Los Angeles Clippers, their team totals have been something I've been messing with, especially here against the Lakers without LeBron James. They've been elite offensively. And since they're going to be together in a little bit of a revenge spot, remember about a month ago, a little less, on a Sunday, they went out there to LA and, of course, fell flat on their face and lost a bad game. They're going to be up for this. 120.5 on a team total over for the Clippers tonight might be worth looking at as well.
All right. You can follow JVT on X. He's at MeJVT. And you can also get his podcast called Hard Wood Handicappers. It's great. Does it on a daily basis, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, pal. We appreciate the time today. Best of luck.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be good. There you go. Up next, we'll recap more of last night's betting action. Paulie's going to run it all down for you in Win Some, Lose Some next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
If you haven't checked it out already, get up there to the new vsin.com. Adam Burke on the importance of Samuel and previewing both title games Sunday. Check it out, the new vsin.com. Fresh new look. Check it out today.
Okay, we're going to hit the Niners and Lions game here. John Lund joins the program, longtime radio host in the Bay Area. His show is called Papa and Lund. 10A to 2P on KNBR 680 in the Bay Area. John, it's good to talk to you as always. How are you, my friend?
Oh, it's great to talk to you guys. How you doing, man? Getting ready for another NFC Championship game.
Yeah, no, what is this, 4 and 5 years now for the 49ers overall?
Yeah, 4 and 5, yeah. And they finally get one at home last year. Obviously, Philly with Brock getting hurt the year before they were in LA, and Jaquaski Tart dropped a punt interception that lost the game. So
that's right.
They're hoping for a better result. Yeah.
Okay, so we ranked our quarterbacks for the final 8 teams remaining in the playoffs last week, and we each had Purdy over Goff. We kind of re-examined that today. He was not, I mean, when it mattered most, give the kid credit. He shined. I thought he was really, really good. Also, nice touchdown pass to George Kittle. What is your level of concern in this game and moving forward in a potential Super Bowl matchup with Brock Purdy?
If it's going to rain, it's high. He was messing around with the glove, took it on, took it off. And for a kid who played at Iowa State, he just has not played well in rain. Go back to the Cleveland game this year. He just hasn't figured it out. So we're looking right now in the Bay Area, which you know of, Mitch. It's just, and you guys both know, you know, at this time of year, it could be 52 in rain or fog, or it could be 70. And right now it's projected to be 70 and dry. So if you're getting Brock Purdy in dry weather, I think he's one of the better guys. I'm not or at that elite level, but I've basically sat here and defended him all season long, and people think it's just the offense or just Shanahan or just playmakers. Look, he's great for this offense, but for some reason in weather, rain here, he just hasn't figured it out. So look, you can't sugarcoat it. He was terrible up until that final drive in which he went 6 or 7. He was missing throws, but more importantly to me was he was missing reads. One of the reasons he's been so good in this offense and Kyle likes him so much is he lets it rip. And if it gets intercepted, he's okay with it. But the reality is that in wet weather, he's been terrible, but he has been the key. I mean, in wins, it's 28 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. In losses, it's 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So really, for all the talent that is here, as Brock goes, so goes the 49ers offense.
Great answer. Great breakdown. Let's say it doesn't go well. He's erratic. He's missing reads. It's a little bit like the Monday Night Massacre and what happened Saturday. They like to dance and, Cousins, Rodgers, Brady. Rumors have always been out there over this organization.
Yeah.
What would they do next year if they lose and he doesn't play well?
Well, I think the time has passed for Tom Brady. I know that story was out there last week, and it was because he was coming off such a major injury, which I think people forget about. He didn't have an off season. So for that particular time, I think Tom Brady would have fit. And yeah, I know what people are going to say. Kirk Cousins is out there. Kyle Shanahan has loved Kirk Cousins. He's going to be a free agent, obviously, this year. I just don't see it. I don't see them making that big of a commitment. Brady was kind of a unique situation where Brady could come in for a year. He could play. He would be done. And then Brock Purdy, no worse for the wear, although you could tell he's a competitive guy, so he didn't like that situation, but he would have understood it. Kirk Cousins is a guy who's going to get a multi-year contract, and although Kyle Shanahan has been obsessed with him for a number of years, I just don't see it happening. So win or lose, Brock Purdy's going to be their guy going forward.
Okay.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, John Lund. His show is called Papa and Lund on KNBR 680 in San Francisco, weekdays 10A to 2P. Another big question mark is Deebo Samuel and his status for this game on Sunday. Adam Schefter tweeted yesterday, call it about 50-50. It's early in the week here, John, but if you had to bet on Deebo playing in this game against the Lions, would you bet on the yes or the no?
I'd bet on the yes because of where we are in the season. If this is a regular season game, of course he's not going to play. This happened against Cleveland. He had a hairline fracture in his shoulder, and he missed a couple of games. And it was a very similar situation in that they lost him on the first play. Well, they lost him against Green Bay on the fourth play. And the reason why it matters and the reason why it changes so much, he's one player. I understand that, but he is in so many different formations. And I know of the game plan last week. He's like losing 3 or 4 players for the 49ers. He's in the slot. He's in the backfield. He lines up in so many different ways. He's in motion a number of different ways. Kyle Shanahan, especially in the playoffs. If you remember a couple of years ago when they used him as a running back and there was a lot of debate of whether he even wanted to play that position, and it was because of injuries. And then the next season, which was last season, they didn't use it as much, but then in the playoffs they did. And what they do is, and a lot of teams do this in every sport, is that they may not use a quarterback may not run as much or whatever the case may be because you're watching for injury. But in the playoffs, they use Debo a ton and in a bunch of different formations. So in the case of Kyle Shanahan, here he loses basically his gadget weapon for this game early, and he was a heavy part of the offense, and it took them a long time to adjust. And there's nobody who can take over that position. It's just Ray McLeod, Jawan Jennings. Those guys aren't the same kind of players. So when they lose Debo, it's a big part of the offense. So he won't rely on him as much as far as the game plan is concerned. But I'd be absolutely shocked if Debo didn't play because it's the NFC Championship.
You mentioned Purdy in the rain. What's a weather report for Sunday? Yeah. And I was stunned. I was stunned that they weren't prepared with their cleats in the rain, and they were slipping all over the place on defense Saturday.
I agree with you 100%, Paulie. I mean, they I don't know why they weren't prepared and why Green Bay was. I mean, we were debating that yesterday on my show. Green Bay, I guess, comes from a place where the weather's worse, but they should have known. It was raining all week. It's been raining here for 2 weeks now. As far as Sunday is concerned, it's supposed to be 70 and clear, but it wasn't supposed to be as bad as what the weather turned out to be early in the week last week either. So things can quickly change around here. It's still raining today. So there's going to be rain up until that point. So it's supposed to be nice, and it's a massive difference for Purdy as far as the cleats. I can't tell you. I'm shocked as you were. Obviously, Ward fell down for a long game by Dobbs. Gibson fell down on a touchdown pass to Melton. They were slipping all over this place. It was weird because offensively not as bad, although Jawan Jennings slipped on one in which he could have got up for one, but he slipped on his cut. So the Packers weren't slipping at all, and especially defensively the 49ers were, so I would expect them to change it. But I'm with you. I was shocked that on your own home field to not have the right footwear, as weird as that sounds. I mean, every detail matters in the playoffs. Green Bay wasn't slipping around, but especially defensively and along the defensive line. I talked to some guys after the game. Along the defensive line, they weren't getting a lot. So they obviously made an error in their preparation for the game, which shocked me.
It was a rough game, too, with the special teams. What's your level of concern there, and also with Moody? It's well documented around here that I wouldn't have taken a third-round kicker. It's nothing against the kid. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, you look in Dallas, what they've done. You can pick up kickers all the time. You know, Justin Tucker's the best kicker of all time. He's a free agent. I mean, you just don't do that. I think it was a problem, especially when they gave Trey Lance. They gave away all those picks for Trey Lance. I just don't think you spend a third-rounder on a kicker. Okay, having said that, I'm still nervous because the 48-yarder, which people around here are downplaying, that was a low kick, and that got blocked, but it was a low kick. He did hit the 52-yarder later, which was absolutely huge, especially given that Carlson missed his kick. But, yeah, he's a rookie kicker. In the game prior, he missed an extra point, and he missed a field goal in that one. The thing to watch out for Jake Moody, and I don't know why this is the case, on kicks that are lined up on the right hash, he tends to push those right. So if you see a kick that is either middle or left hash, and they'll try to set him up if they can. But for some reason this year, the Cleveland kick that they missed, Brock Purdy put him down in position to try to win that game late, and Jake Moody missed that kick right. It was on the right hash. The kicks that he missed, not the extra point, but the last field goal he missed, was off the right hash in the regular season. So for some reason, he has that issue. But the winds, well, they don't swirl like some other stadiums. This isn't Buffalo. But certainly Levi Stadium can have wind issues, and he still hasn't figured them out. So look, you're talking about a rookie kicker you took in the third round, and Robbie Gould, their previous kicker, as everybody knows, never missed a postseason extra point or field goal. So it's a massive difference, and it certainly is in the back of everybody's mind here.
Nope, spot on. Great tidbit there. We have about 2 minutes left here, John. What's the explanation for Kyle Shanahan being so conservative in that game before halftime?
There was 4:09 left at the 25-yard line, and they're up 7-6. And the thing, Kyle Shanahan has this thought that you have to. There are analytics that say if you possess the ball, touch it last before the half, that's a massive advantage. I can't find those analytics. There's a huge debate here. I don't think those analytics exist, but that's what Kyle Shanahan says. To me, and you guys can chime in here, You worry about the clock, there's no question. But what it tells me is he doesn't have faith in his defense at this point. And this defense isn't the same, especially against the run, as we saw those big alleys against Green Bay. And I don't think he trusts his defense, because with 4:09 left, up a point, you worry about the clock last and you worry about scoring first. Those are your priorities. So score and then worry about the clock. When they won the game, there was 1:07 left. They weren't sitting there going, oh, the clock. They had to score. So before the half,
yes,
Kyle Shanahan, and Green Bay took the ball. People forget. Green Bay did them a favor by taking the ball. They could have gotten a score there with that 48-yard field goal, taking it out to start the half, and doubled up on the Packers. They didn't get a score before the half because Moody's kick was blocked, and they did 3 and out before the half. So those are the big things for Kyle Shanahan, and he didn't get either of them done against Green Bay.
Yeah, great perspective. Follow John on X. He's at John Lund Radio. His podcast is called Unleashed Bay Area Sports, and also Papa and Lund weekdays on KMBR 680. Quickly here, do they win the game? Do they cover?
I think they win the game. I don't think they cover, because they're just. I just have I'm nervous, especially against the run. I'll just tell you. I think they win. I don't think they cover.
I'm with you. Thanks, John. We appreciate it.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. Always good.
Thank you, sir.
I think so too, right? This should be a Gibbs and Montgomery game. We saw it with Aaron Jones on Saturday night. That's how you can go at this team. Not easy to pass against them. In pocket plays coming up next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.